Hey guys, hope you're doing well. We've got a study on Pat McCormack today in the amateurs. I think this is 2019. I picked a random fight. He faces a boxer from Ireland. What is it? A Walsh. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't remember what name that was. I'll check it. I'll put it in the description. I'll put the full fight if you guys want to watch it. I just picked round two. Um, I watched it and it was a really good round. Both of these boxers are very good. Obviously, we'll be spending the majority of time looking at Pat McCormack today, but I will be referring to things that Walsh is doing as well. Okay. All right, let's go. Okay, so they both advance to the center of the ring. You can see Walsh here immediately take center and command it with a low lead hand and his looks, while Pat McCormack comes forward with his looks, obviously using that sort of half jab to the air, slipping on the inside with a look, trying to inch forward. And then Walsh is going to feint his lead hand. Pat McCormack is going to parry and step out of range and then move off to his left. Okay, so now he's doing looks towards his left, just circling off, using slip looks, keeping those gloves to the temple. Another feint from Walsh, which is going to look like a jab feint, and then he's going to slip as well as throw the two to the body. Pat McCormack steps out of range, gets a good lead hand parry on that, and tries to jab backwards, okay? So you can almost say that he's looking for a simple counter here as he goes to his left, okay? Pat McCormack is. So he sees this jab feint, he tries to parry it. He sees this two to the body, he parries that, and then looks for a jab counter, okay? And even knew, basically, that it wasn't going to land. He was okay with it. It was just to sort of occupy his opponent and get him to be wary of his counters, okay? All right, so he keeps coming forward with looks now, Pat McCormack, and as you can see, he just inches his way in, slip look, high guard, feint, and then he uses his jab, okay? Walsh is going to parry that. I think it just grazes him, though, and then come back with his own jab. Pat McCormack, if you can look at his feet right now, after stepping in with this long jab, just takes a tiny, tiny, tiny step back, okay, and just manages to avoid the counter. Very good work, very good work. All right, he's then going to take a very short reset out to his right, and then they're going to carry on doing looks. He's going to get in a sort of, as you can see, he's quite low here. He's quite low with his looks, Pat McCormack, and then he gets really high, okay, and sort of uses this bounce. This bounce is very common in the amateurs. It's basically trying to be as tall as possible, trying to be as commanding as possible. And you can see Walsh straight away, as soon as he does it, decides to engage. He jabs, he throws the two, and obviously no third punch. Pat McCormack manages to use his parries, uses shuffles, and immediately get out of range. He shuffles back in and then uses, as you can see, it's a weird rhythm because he shuffles in, sort of has this little bounce feints, shuffles in, bounce feints, and then uses his jab, okay? So that's 2 times now. He set up his jab by using good feints, closing the distance intelligently. Again, he steps in quite aggressively here. If you want to look at his lead foot, it goes into the inside of his opponent's lead foot, which is quite important. And he's obviously going around to his left here, isn't he? It's actually a very Floyd Mayweather type jab, okay? So he circles off to his left while stepping in, and then straight away looks to parry and step back out of range. But just a tiny one, okay? Okay, so he's going to shuffle forward with looks a little bit and then decide to take back the center and just do a tiny reset off to the right. Okay, that is still a reset. It depends what your intention is. Right now, he's already gone to his left, so he's going to decide to get back the center and use a reset to go to his right. Then he's going to use his looks forward, raise his guard, and Walsh will feint, jab in between. Pat McCormack tries to get his parry hand on it, but it just doesn't really work. Okay, gets back into sort of this we'll call it the pendulum bounce, but it's sort of a variation of that. It's not as straightforward as people talk about it. You can call it being light-footed, a bounce, whatever. As you can see, Pat McCormack now, he's just using small adjustments with his feet. He sort of goes to his left a little bit, uses his high guard, feints the parry jab, and then he's going to... So here he's kind of looking for a counter. He's using his parry hand, parry and jab, and then he's going to say, that was a light one, that was a half jab. He lets Walsh touch the gloves and then comes around with this great hook here, okay? So just changing the pace on his punches. Boom, just around the guard. And as you can see, steps out of range straight away with a pull. Walsh goes a little bit off balance, okay? Pat McCormack's going to come back in, looks forward, again, very feinty, using a lot of level changes. Weirdly enough, level change, it sounds like you can only change one level, you can go down, but you can also go up. As you can see, he's going up and down, up and down, up and down, and then they jab, okay? Now he does get caught on the way in because he's the aggressor. He's stepping forward right now. So Walsh, who's can be a little bit patient here, is just going to look for a counter, pull away, and jab as he comes in, which is very, very nice. Very, very nice work. This is obviously, I think it's a quarterfinal of the AIBA European Championships, or no, maybe even the World Championships. This is a high level, basically. That's what I'm getting at. This is this boxer Walsh, although I don't know much about him, he's obviously very good. Okay. Pat McCormack gets hit, squeezes straight away after getting hit, and steps back out of range, which is what you want to do. And then he's going to obviously have to retaliate. It's the amateurs. So after bouncing backwards, level change, 1-2 to the body, and then steps back out of range. Okay. Now, you know how I feel about twos, but Pat McCormack does have a really, really, really good 1-2. You're going to see it in a bit, I think. So anyway, he steps back out of range, circles off to his right, okay, gets a new angle. He's got his high lead hand here, and then he's going to jab in, and then come around with the uppercut. That's another great use of the lead hand, okay? Now, you can call that two, but you can also call that, just great lead hand work. The jab, he tries to find the opening underneath the high guard and tries to come up with the uppercut, but he misses. And then steps back out of range just for good measure, circles again off to his right, and then he starts using his looks backwards, okay? So he steps back with a high guard, steps back with his parry look, steps back with his slip, and then shuffles back out of range with a sort of stiff arm before resetting off to the right, okay? Now, obviously, you can say, yeah, well, they were looks, but he was reacting to the defense. What the fuck do you think looks are, mate? That's exactly what they are. They can be used as defense, Anyway, so he uses his parry here. He slips off. That's a great look to just sort of get Walsh to sort of engage even more as he moves back. You can see that right now he's using tiny steps. And then when it suits him, use a shuffle back, okay? And he uses it with a stiff arm instead of a squeeze. Shuffles back out of range, reset off to the right. Walsh is now going to switch southpaw, so Pat McCormack's going to get into a longer lead hand guard, okay? Just use that touch jab, and then what's he going to do? Feint, come around with the hook, but just to sort of slap the lead hand down, and then tries for the right hand. Walsh, again, this very good counter puncher. He's obviously looking for a counter right now in this great high guard. He slips off, sort of parries at the same time with his back glove, and then catches him. Well, doesn't really catch him, but tries to throw the hook coming in, and then they both get into this clinch here. Very, very good amateur fight. I'm really enjoying this so far from a studying perspective. Okay, looks quite angry. Pat McCormack's going to go straight back into looks backwards. As you can see, he's very, very concentrated here. Just tiny, tiny steps back. You don't want to give up so much ground. When I say looks backwards, some of you just fly across to the other side of the ring. Like, that's not what I mean. I just mean some tiny steps back just to readjust the distance. Do you understand? Just to keep the distance. And then what does he do? After the looks backwards, a couple of feints, Walsh sort of raises his guard again. So Luke's going to step in between with a 1 and then try the 2, but it doesn't land. Again, Walsh is a good counterpuncher, so he parries this, steps back out of range with the 3, and because he's quite tall, it only lands on the shoulder. Okay. Again, Pat McCormack straight away bounces out of range. Now you can see he started his offense here and then sort of angled off to his left. Okay, that is quite an important detail, that when he exits, he's way more to his left than he was before, you know. Anyway, he comes back in, he feints, and just a jab, and then shuffles back out, resets a little bit off to his right, just to keep the center, and then uses this high guard. He gets feinted, so he decides to come back. He uses that 1, gets parried, 2, and then this time's going to come around with a hook. Okay, what did I say about 3-punch combinations? Yeah. All right, excellent work. So he resets here, high guards look, set looks, you can call it, 1, 2, 3. That 2 almost looks like a throwaway. Walsh is obviously very good defensively, so it just looks like a throwaway. 1, 2, and then 3 around the guard. And then he even tries, once that has success, he tries a little bit more, but Walsh is out of range. Okay, all right, looks forward, and he's going to try it again. It's a very weirdly jab sometimes. It sort of looks like the in-between of a hook and a jab, sort of a throwaway. He gets inside the lead hand, or you can say it's an inside slip, and then throws the right hand over the top. This one obviously doesn't land because he's a little bit out of range. Shuffles back and does get caught with his counter square on before inside pivoting into a clinch. Okay, still good recovery. And then they break. All right, so he's more in this high guard look. He's just looking for offense as Walsh comes forward. He tries to jab over the top again, slip inside of that jab, but it's obviously been mistimed, and tries to right hand over the top, but it doesn't really work. He then sort of pivots to get his base back, resets off to his right to gain a little bit of distance, feints back. This feint is going to freeze Walsh in place. You see that? He resets and feints straight away. Now, why do I tell you feint off the reset? This is exactly why. When someone's closing the distance on you, you want to give them something to think about. Feint here, freezes Walsh in place, sort of gets him to raise his guard, and then Pat McCormack comes in, 1, touch 1, and then the uppercut. Okay, great squeeze from Walsh, but that looks really good for Pat McCormack. Okay, and it's actually a 4, so it's a feint and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now again, they're throwaway punches. He's trying to land hard, but they're point scorers. You know, this is a tricky opponent to land against. Okay, he shuffles the distance to get back the range, which is good distance control. He puts his high guard up, takes this sort of jab on the gloves, just a light jab. He shuffles back, and then is going to go for this great counter here. Okay, so he sort of lets Walsh's momentum get the better of him and shuffles back out of range as he steps in to his southpaw position, Walsh does. And then as soon as he sets his feet, Pat McCormack drops his level, hook around the guard, which lands to the shoulder, and then a great body shot here, which I think lands on the squeeze, but it looks quite intentful. So you can call this a sort of shuffle back counter, boom, boom, or a 2 just straight off. Walsh is now in this southpaw position, so Pat McCormack's going around to his left, using his lead hand, parrying with his front hand, coming around with the hook, trying to get back the center. Now that he's in the center, what's he going to do? He's just going to try and keep the lead hand. Now, if you try, again, what did we learn about the George Foreman study? This is a parry look, okay? I'm trying to control the lead hand, like the common thing is against southpaws. If I can control the lead hand, I just have to worry about the backhand. However, if I can control the lead hand, I can see the backhand coming. So he just has it here, steps back out of range, slips off, has way too much distance between him and that left hand, and then he gets back into range after the reset. Very, very clinical decision making. I really like it. I really, really like it. Okay, he's using his looks forward. This time he tries to go a little bit more aggressively and shuffle forward with his high guard. And then it kind of gets smothered and maybe a little bit too aggressive because Walsh sees it straight away, and he sort of gets a hand on the high guard here and then throws the two. Great squeeze by Pat McCormack, and then he pushes him off. Pat McCormack's now in pretty solid range, tries to come around with a hook, tries to come around with another hook, and then push him off slightly with his left hand, okay? And again, tries it again. It sort of looks like a check hook, if you will, and then shuffles off, gets back to the centre. Walsh is retaliating now. He's going to throw out a 1-2. Pat McCormack's going to step out of range with this half step and then slip, or you can say bend at the waist, and then come back up with this counter right uppercut, okay? And then they clinch in, okay? So here maybe not, but here he's going to look for a counter. As soon as he takes care of that lead hand, he knows the left hand's come in. He's going to try slip out of way, come back up with a right uppercut to the body, and then they clinch again. And they do a little bit of infighting. Okay, and then he's bouncing back on his feet, using his high guard, then dropping his guard, giving him a different look. And then Walsh is going to throw a really great 3 here. So he feints, 1 to the air, sort of this half jab, and then he goes 1 to the air, 2 to the shoulder, and 3 to the head. Okay, now it grazes Pat McCormack. I don't even think it hits him flush on the chin, but it's a really great example of using a 3 progressively. Okay, all right, let's see what Pat McCormack does here. So he gets back into this. You can call this a sort of Philly shell. He tries to use that parry hand. It drops a little bit, and that's why he gets caught more near the shoulder. But again, he's shuffling back, so he's pretty safe. And then he's lost a lot of ground, so what does he do? Circle off with his jab, and then he's going to use his looks forward, and a great 3 here. So he's feinting forward. He's trying to reach him, but it sort of lands to the gloves. This is another jab to sort of the gloves or the chin, but nothing that he's trying to land flush on the face. He's obviously trying to set up his right hand, so sort of like 2 throwaways, step in with a double jab, and then you can see the right hand coming over the top, and he tries it, and he doesn't really land because Walsh has got very sneaky defense where he just like bends at the waist just a little bit, okay? I might separate this into 2 parts. We'll see how long the video is when I'll end it. So if it abruptly ends